is good for the assembly. So if I had like a YouTube thumbnail to make, right? I would start in Illustrator. I'd make the background, a color, and I'd probably use the text for Illustrator. But if I needed like a picture of myself, I would use Photoshop. So I can, change the attributes to the photo, like the coloring, the shading. And this also applies to like any project you do. Photoshop is usually more for like the pictures, and then Illustrator, I would use that for the assembly. All right. So what, besides Illustrator, what can you do with Photoshop? So you can create digital paintings, you can manipulate the color of an image. You can also do a lot more to the color of an image. I'll get into that later. You can crop an image, and that has to do with masking. You can repair flaws, like red eyes or like the dust on the lens. You can do a lot more. Like you can, if your hair's sticking out, you can remove that with clone stamping. You can add text to images, which gets really in depth. Like you can make 3D text and add like a shadow to it, so it looks like it's actually in, that field of space. Uh, for text, it's for Illustrator, in Photoshop, the text in Illustrator is a lot more like detailed. You can like you can like crop the text in Illustrator. You can do a lot more. But for Photoshop, it has its own thing with text. You can also remove people or objects, and you can replace them. We'll get into that too. But overall, you can do like almost anything. Like if you have like an idea, just do some research. There's plenty of YouTube tutorials. There's even on like TikTok, like I see like these like 30-second like quick tutorials, and it teaches you a lot. So if you have an idea, you can definitely accomplish it. All right. So today's goals, just summarized, I'm gonna teach you guys some shortcuts in Photoshop, like the layout. Uh, I'm gonna teach you how to like add an image onto another image and change the attributes. Um, Masking, which has to do with like cropping, removing and replacing parts of an image, and shading. So I'm gonna do like 3 demos, and hopefully you guys can learn through those. So the first demo is just the layout and shortcuts for, for you love TikTok, okay. Um, so the first one is the layout and shortcuts. I'm gonna go to Photoshop now and show you guys. So on the left here of my screen, we have these basic tools that you use. This is like your go-to for changing the tool. You can also edit the toolbar. The top here, you have like some more like modifications to an image. You can change like the size of the canvas. You also can change the brush size over here, and like you're saving that kind of stuff. Top right over here, you have your colors. You have a whole like palette, and gradients. In the middle over here, you have middle right, you have the properties. So the width, height, the exact pixels on the image, because you're working with pixels, not with vectors. So that's pretty important. And then next to properties, you have adjustments. So this is what I mentioned before. Like you can add an adjustment layer to a picture. Like you can change the brightness, the saturation. You can make it black or white. A lot of stuff. Imagine like Instagram filters, but with a lot more creative control. Uh, Bottom right, we have the layers. So usually with like photo manipulating software, even like Figma, Illustrator, you have like the layers. It works like that. You have a background. Uh, this picture over here on my screen, the layout and shortcuts, that's one layer. Bottom right, you also have the mask button, which I'll get into. And then this button over here on the bottom right is a new layer. So that's just like the overall like uh, format of Photoshop. Uh, for shortcuts, this is also pretty important. The first one is Alt and a mouse scroll. So if you press the Alt key and you scroll, you can zoom in. I think this is really important because when you're working with pixels and you want to be pixel perfect, being able to quickly move in and out of the image is really useful, because instead of using the zoom in or zoom out tool, you can just do it with an Alt and a scroll. It's really easy. So the next one is the space and mouse. So let's say you want to move to a different part of the image, you press space, you get the hand over here, and you just click and move around. Pretty straightforward. So if you combine both of those, you can, zoom out, zoom in over here, move here. Once you perfect that movement, you'll find that to be really useful because you don't have to use these bars over here because that can be kind of frustrating. All right, yeah, so get that movement down and that'll be pretty good. So the next one I'm going to show you guys with the brush tool. So I just made a line with the brush tool. If you look at your bracket keys, the right bracket key increases the size. So I can get a bigger line. The left bracket key decreases the size. So if you practice with that, it'll be a lot easier than just going to the top left and just changing that over here. You also have the hardness. So like if it's all the way down, the brush is really like, it's kind of like fuzzy. So you can do that easily with shift and the bracket key or the curly bracket. So I can make it harder or softer. And yeah, so there's a lot more tools that use like this cursor over here that we're gonna get into. It's not just like the brush with color, but that's one of my favorite like shortcuts, just doing that. And I'm gonna make it all the way there. So yeah, next one is the X key. So on the top right, we have two colors, black and white. That's gonna be important for masking, but I'm gonna change the white to red to show you guys this. So I now have red, I press X, now I have black. So you can quickly just change between two colors. So just keep that all in mind. I'll call back to all these shortcuts later. The last one is Control T, which is transform. So layer one over here is just this image over here. So if I press Control T, I can move it around and I can also change the size. But notice the ratio of the width and height isn't locked. So the way you can keep it locked is Control T, press the Shift key on your keyboard and just go like that. Just increase it and it'll stay locked. I think that's really important because I see a lot of like edits, like if you see like a bootleg like movie, like a cover, like Spider-Man would be like really squished, or like if I had like a logo and I wanted to make like a flyer, I'd want that logo to be like the right size and like ratio. Some people some like I've seen some edits where like they don't pay attention to that and it kind of like removes some of the like authenticity of that work. So yeah, just shift and like that, because you're going to be adding images in Photoshop a lot, and just press the check there to finish the transform. And you can always just press Control T again to go back into that. So yeah. And I'm gonna go back to my slides. Okay. Next demo. Hold on, we have something in the chat. Yes, Control T is great. Okay. Next demo. Okay, we're gonna be cutting out my friend's head, and my head's next to his head, and we're only gonna change the attributes to my head. I think this is a really good demo because it teaches a lot of tools, masking, the marquee tool, lasso tool, quick selection tool, pen tool, clipping masks, and adjustment layers. A lot to unpack there, but this is a really quick way to learn all those. So let's get into it. I'm gonna go back to Photoshop, and here we go. Okay, hold on. Okay, wait. Just give me 1 second. I have to go back. Just give me 1 sec. I cropped out my friend's head already, so I have to get the original picture back. Okay. Come back to Photoshop. All right, he's over here. All right, we're gonna put him over here. Control T. Okay. And there he is. Okay, perfect. All right, so first thing is masking. Okay, so masking is the overall way. That's just how cropping works. Okay, you're making a mask. So I'm gonna start off by clicking the layer that my friend's on. Check the bottom right, you'll see that I'm on that layer, and I'll press the mask button right here, add layer mask. So I have the mask there, and if you go to the brush tool, you'll see that my cursor, or the color that I'm on, is white. And if I draw, uh, he'll not turn white, it'll just stay there. But if I turn it black, he's gone. So that's the key to masking. Black removes and white brings it back. So if I want to cut his head out, I can just go around here and do that, but that's not super efficient. So there's other ways to do it. But yeah, I drew black around the mask and it's gone. And if I press X, back to that shortcut, by the way, press X, we're on white, back, I can restore everything back. Usually using the brush to do this helps with like refining your crop. So the tools I'm going to show after this, you'll like make it yourself. And if you miss like some part like around the ear, you can just like go to your brush tool, you know, go to the black color and just like zoom in, you know, and just get that little detail in there. Decrease the brush size with the bracket and just get that over there. Yeah, so that's like masking in general. I'm going to delete the mask I just made and get into the marquee tool. So that's over here, top left. You have a rectangle or a circle and some other shapes. So I'll show you guys with the circle. Let's say like you want to make like an Instagram profile picture or Twitter. So you make the circle and you just press the mask button and boom, you got the circle over there. And if you guys look at the mask in the bottom right of my screen, you'll see like the black around it. So that's what I mean about like the brush, right? So if I just went to the brush tool and I put black over it, it'll go away. So you can do those modifications with your masks. So that's just a circle though. I can also press delete to hold on a sec. Okay, I'm not sure why it's doing that. Ooh, okay. Anyway, so that's the marquee tool. We also have the lasso tool. So this is actually just like drawing the selection. I don't really find much use to this because there's more accurate ways, but I'll show you guys. You can literally just like draw around. Obviously, like my accuracy isn't 100%, so I wouldn't like recommend the lasso tool for stuff like this. And just press the mask, and there you go. So that's a tool, and then you have quick selection. So I say quick selection is probably the best one, is one of the best ones next to pen tool. This is basically just Photoshop detecting the person or whatever you're trying to cut out. So I have the cursor over here. I can increase the size again with the shortcut bracket. Right bracket goes up, left bracket goes down. If I just click, it'll get his hair. Click here, get his forehead, just drag. I got most of his face. Zoom in here with Alt mouse, decrease the size with left bracket, get his ear there. It's not 100% accurate. So that's why that's one of the things about the quick selection is that it won't be like pixel perfect, but it's really close. So let me get like as much of his ear as I can get. And press the mask button on the bottom right, and I got his head. So that's like pretty accurate. That's really, really accurate. I'd say the downside of quick selection tool is if you have an object with a lot of like edges, like spikes or something like that, it usually rounds it out. You saw with his ear, right? Like it missed those pixels. You can always like refine it later, but another one that I like is the pen tool. If you guys have used Figma or Illustrator, the pen tool, you're basically making the points yourself. So, point A to point B, that's just a click, a click. If you click and hold, you can make curves too. So that adds like another layer of accuracy. So I'm gonna pen tool my friend out now and just show you my thought process. So I'm just gonna start here, get really in there with the pixel so I can be as perfect as I can and just make a line here, 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 here. And I'm just using my mouse scroll as my zoom in here. Honestly, like the more you go in, the more accurate it'll be. Press space to get that hand, and then move up. That's another shortcut I mentioned. Up around the ear. I'm gonna zoom out a little because his head's a little straight here, so I'm just gonna make a line for time. Just boom, boom, boom here. His hair is a little like, you know, like I can't really go like up and down, so I'm just gonna get the general shape of it. And you also, you have like this hole here, so you can always go back and like fix that with your brush tool, with the mask. So just go around his head. There's a curve here, so I'll show you guys like the curve. So just get a point down here, hold, and then bring that curve there with your mouse. And there you go. And then you end up with this line over here on the bottom. So just press the Alt key and then bring that in the general direction you want to go. Alt and then drag, and then you're back on your path. Scroll down. This is pretty straight. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, space, move here. Down his ear. Okay, I'm messing up a little, so I'm going to Control Z. Down the ear as accurate as I can get. It's a little straight. Okay. And I see kind of like a curve here, so I'm just gonna go for that. Just click here, drag a little, get that curve. I can go for another one. Oops. Click here, drag, get the curve, press Alt, bring it here, and then just curve here. And pretty close. I'm gonna zoom in, move this anchor back with Alt, and then just finish the pen tool. So I've finished it. It's around his head, and I'm gonna just right click it, press create vector mask, and there you go. So I have his head cut out, perfect. If I see a flaw, again, I can always just, you know, go to the brush tool and just draw that, you know, add some black or white, you know, add or subtract from the mask. But yeah, I've done the first thing for this demo, which is cut out my friend's head in different ways, but we finished with the pen tool. The next one, so the next part of this demo is to make my head black and white, not his. Okay, so on the right here, right middle, we have all these adjustments. I'm going to use the black and white one right over here. Okay, and you'll notice it did both of our heads. I only want my head though, okay? And this is where the clipping mask comes in. So if I right click my black and white layer and I do create clipping mask, it'll make this arrow over here, and it'll only make what's under that arrow black and white. So my friend's layer is under it, so it made him, but if I just drag my head under that black and white and I just move, there we go. And clipping mask, yeah, okay, perfect. So I put my head under the clipping mask and only my head is black and white. And I can show you guys like other like adjustments. So I can change like the saturation, create clipping mask, and I can make myself like blue or like green like Hulk. There's a lot. You'd use these for like pictures. I don't think you'd want to like make yourself like a different color. But I mean, there's a lot of like ways to use Photoshop if I want to make like some funny picture. But yeah, there's a lot to use with adjustment layers. Yeah, that concludes the second demo. We got one more to wrap it up. I'm gonna go back to my slides. All right. Demo 3. Okay, this is gonna bring everything into one picture. We're gonna remove and replace a person from picture. And this is gonna use the clone stamp tool, a drop shadow, warping, and the burn and dodge tool. All right, let's head into it. Okay, we got this guy over here. Okay, I'm gonna zoom in. All right, we need to remove him. Uh, this is practical because you know, if you wanted to like, if you had like an Instagram picture that you really liked, but there was someone in the background, you can remove him with the clone stamp. So let me demonstrate clone stamping. So this tool over here under the brush, clone stamp. Okay, so if you press Alt with the clone stamp, you set the source. So if I press Alt, chat, okay, hold on, hold on. Okay, set, okay, okay. Uh, so clone stamping, if you press Alt, you set the source. You're basically taking a part of a picture and you're moving it to another part. So I've already removed him with the clone stamp, and for some reason it's not letting me like interact with that image. So I'm just gonna show you like on this picture. But let's say like I wanted to like extend the sidewalk, I would press Alt and click over here. And now the source is where I clicked, and I can just drag that here and extend that sidewalk. Okay. And as you drag, it changes the source. It just goes along the picture. Like right here, we have like the sidewalk. So I would just press Alt over the sidewalk and get that like this, the crack in the sidewalk. Press Alt there and just like, you know, click along there. If I go back to the original picture, I'm going to Control Z everything I did. We don't know what's behind him. So it's a lot of it's like in your imagination. Obviously, we can assume that there's a sidewalk behind him. There's a tree over there, so we can just take from the other tree and kind of take that texture. Over here, there's a driveway, so we can assume that the pavement goes along that driveway, and then just like a tree over here. But yeah, that's just what clone stamp is. You're taking a part of the image and moving it across the screen. Okay, I just looked at the chat. All right, perfect. So I already removed it. So he's gone now. And I have this picture of me. So I'm gonna put myself in there. So I already showed you guys how to take something out of a picture. So I'd pen tool this. So I'm not gonna pen tool it right now because it would take like some time, like if I want to be accurate. So I already did it. So here I am. Okay, my quality went down because the original picture is like very low quality, and this picture is like higher quality. So I'm a little blurry, but that's okay because if I zoom out, it you know, it looks like the quality is like consistent. So the first problem here is that it looks like I'm floating. If you look, there's no shadow under my feet, so it straight up looks like I'm floating. So that's the first thing we're gonna tackle with this demo. So if I go to this layer that I'm on and I click it, I get this layer style menu, and you can do a lot of things. This can be with like text. This can be with anything you put on a picture. You can add like a shadow, you know, drop shadow, a stroke, stuff like that. So if I go to drop shadow, that's what we're gonna do. It made the shadow over here for me. So we're gonna use that to kind of make a shadow. I can change the opacity. It won't be like 100%, so we're just gonna bring it down to like 30 maybe, or like 35. Okay, and the size, that's kind of like the blurriness of the shadow. So I don't think it's gonna be like 1-to-1 to my you know my body. So I'm gonna bring the size to like 9 or like 10, or I'll just do 10. Perfect. Okay, so the drop shadow is in the effects under the thing, but I want the drop shadow to be on a new layer. So what I'm gonna do is keep myself selected on this layer, go to layer, see layer style, and then create layer. Okay, so now my drop shadow is on a whole new layer. So like I mentioned before, Control T, transform, I can change the size. Okay, I can do a lot with it, and I'll show you guys more. Uh, I don't know like the source of the light in this picture because he's under a tree. So I'm just gonna assume it's going to the right. But ideally, you'd figure that out. You know, if you had like a picture with your friends and like you wanted to Photoshop yourself in there, you would see where their shadow is. So you can kind of emulate the direction of that shadow. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just rotate it. I'm gonna rotate it, bring it down, kind of just bring it to my feet over here as much as I can. This won't be like 100% accurate, but I'm gonna try my best because I don't know where the sun is. All right, and I'm gonna. There's a question in the chat. So clone stamping is for copying a texture basically, right? Yeah, you can like copy like the grass, right? So like the grass was obviously he was covering the grass. So I would just take a chunk of that grass and just kind of bring it and sort of like try to make it look natural. A lot of the clone stamping with this demo, like it doesn't matter like for the stuff behind him because my body's replacing him. But you want to be as accurate as you can. And ideally, if you're like cropping someone out of the background of your picture, like not a lot of people will notice it. This is kind of like a famous picture, so maybe they'll notice it. But if you're like posting on Instagram and so you're at a beach, right, and someone was in like the water, you know, a little far away, like no one's gonna notice that. Just it's a good tool to know though. So I have the drop shadow over here. I'm gonna go to let's see, edit, transform, and warp. And that gives me more control over like the shaping of my shadow. So I'm gonna bring this like down. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna bring the opacity a little up. Okay, okay. I'm gonna go back to edit, transform, warp, go back to that. The shadow's a little like you can see my foot there. I'm just gonna try to warp it like to my foot. You guys can't really tell because I made the opacity a little low, but ideally like that's what you'd want to do, just like match it to your feet. All right, okay, yeah, I made it a little darker. Hopefully, okay, if I make it darker I can try to match it a little more. So I'm gonna increase the fill, go back to warp, edit, transform, warp. Okay, yeah, it's tough, but okay, yeah, just matching that feet up. It kind of did the job like of like making it look like I'm not floating. I'm just gonna go with that. I did it before. You can see, I don't know. It depends. I'd probably make this a little like less solid too. But it kind of got rid of that floating look. And the next thing I'm gonna do is he's a little like the shadowing is a little darker in the picture. I feel like I'm a little bright. So I've already done this, but I have a layer, a clipping mask for brightness and contrast. I'm gonna turn that on. It brought me a little like made me a little darker. And there's one more tool I want to show, which is the dodge and burn tool. So right over here, if I click the dodge tool, again, we have a cursor. So dodging basically increases the brightness of the part. So if I just color over that, like I'm gonna get like brighter. So if you want to like fix your shadows, you can do that. If you want to make it darker, you go to the burn tool and just like go over it. If I want to make my face a little like darker, I can just click that once and it's a little darker. The pixels are really low in this picture, so it looks a little like crusty, but the shirt over here is a little bright, so I'm just press that once and it makes it a little darker. But yeah, for shadows, like burn and dodge is pretty solid. Dodge makes it brighter. If I want to make that brighter, there we go. And then burn does the opposite. So yeah, this is kind of the final product. Does it look like I'm there? You guys can tell me in the chat. But yeah, that's really useful. Like I mentioned, just uh, if there's something distracting in your picture, you can just extract it. So yeah, I'm gonna go back to my slides. Okay. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, go ahead. Let me know in the chat. Before I answer any questions, I want to emphasize like, if you guys have like a vision for something in Photoshop, like I promise you can like accomplish it. There's like a lot of like resources. So if you just have that in your mind, like, and you have that drive, like I promise you can get it done. There's so many tools in Photoshop that I haven't used myself. There's so many alternative ways to do things. Like the shadow that I showed you guys with the drop shadow, there's another way that like automatically does it, but it does it in like a 3D space. Like you actually map out the 3D space in that photo, and you need like more like processing power to do that, but that's like an alternative. There's just a lot of things. But yeah, have a vision and you can definitely like accomplish it. So yeah, if you guys have anything in the chat, let me know. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
So I'm sorry if it's like a dumb question, but I'm a freshman, and so I was wondering like what the marketability of like a photo of like when I graduate, like does it make sense to like have Photoshop, or like I'm looking like basically like in the workforce, like can I market Photoshop as like a skill for like employers? Like can I like make a living off of like Photoshop? Because like I'm a poli sci major and like I don't know, I'm just trying to like have some like backup options. So like is that, and like can I like make it on like just Photoshop, right? I don't know. Sorry
Uh,
for the stupid question.
yeah. In terms of like making it with Photoshop, I'm sure you can. Like, I'm sure there's jobs that like that people use Photoshop, and it's a really great tool.
Oh, cool. Do you have like do you know like what jobs? Like do you know any jobs like or like internships or something for Photoshop or?
Like a graphic designer, like they use Photoshop, but I assume they'd also use like other tools. But Photoshop's definitely like a big one. Photographers use Photoshop. Uh, and I say like anyone can use Photoshop. Like there's a lot of jobs where like people use Excel, and they found that like Python like helped their job in Excel because they can just automate a lot of stuff, and that puts them ahead of the curve. So I feel like Photoshop's like that too, where if you know it, you can definitely like accomplish a lot of things faster, especially, and that applies to school too. Like I mentioned before, if you have like a project in your class, just having that knowledge, you can be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, thank you, D.
Are you a graphic designer, or like how long did it take you to like learn all that? Because you seem like an expert. Yeah, someone else just at Masma just asked in the chat, like how long did it
Mhm.
take you to like fully learn? Like how to like I don't know, it just seems kind of like daunting, like a master.
I used Photoshop in high school. I was in a game design class, and we learned a lot of the stuff I'm teaching right now is like what is like my favorite stuff that I learned from that class. But there was a lot more. Like there was like you can do like a face swap, and that teaches a lot. That would take a lot of time to teach right now, but that kind of stuff. I think finding your purpose for Photoshop is helpful. Like if you want to use Photoshop for like funny pictures for your friends, like you'd probably like get into like what I just did right now, like where I just took a meme and like put myself in it. Uh, I'm gonna I'm gonna talk about Masuma's question in detail. How long did it take you to fully learn all the Photoshop tools? How did you deal with how overwhelming the interface is? Did you watch? So yeah, YouTube videos are helpful. I mean, that's how I like learn even for like Premiere or like Photoshop or Illustrator, just YouTube videos. There's a lot of resources. I mentioned before on TikTok, there's like these accounts like that just do it in like 30 seconds, like how to, you know, select how to like add a mask or something. Like they'll just quickly tell you. But yeah, that's a really helpful resource. Just Google how to do this if you have an idea and you can get it done. What is some advice I'd give to my younger self? I mean, I would just like tell myself to learn it sooner because it came in pretty. I would, like some people, like including myself, like we would use like MS Paint to like do kind of like crop someone out, like just draw white around them. So just knowing Photoshop before that would have been nice. It's also just a expensive tool though. The subject selector tool, I don't think I've used that. Is that when you like uh quick select around something and then like do the subject selector and it like automatically does it? If it's that, I've tried it, but nah, I don't know. Um, do I have any plugins that I recommend? Honestly, I don't. I just use like base Photoshop. Uh, that's mostly because I haven't explored everything in Photoshop. There's just so much to do. I was looking at this video of like 3D text where someone had like a city and like they put like text in the city like near these cars and it just looked like it was actually there. So there's like so much potential and like Photoshop does a lot of it for you. So it definitely like takes you on a different level. All right, if you guys have any more questions, drop them. If not, all right. I think that's all the questions we have. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. Appreciate it. Use your Photoshop or the UCSC free license we have. It's really useful. Please do it. Even if you guys have like videos you want to make, use Premiere. We have we also have more workshops. Illustrator tomorrow, I believe. That's also a really good tool. Yeah, just check it out. It's free. Thank you for coming.